Hi there, it's Jenna from scribblinggrace.com. If you have been following me and you're familiar with my blog and my channel, then you know that I'm all about Bible journaling. And Bible journaling, if you're not familiar, is using art to glorify God and spend time with Him and just magnify His Word. It's just another way of worshiping. And I love Bible journaling with all of my heart, but one of the things that I've realized is that I focus a lot more on the art aspect than I do really digging deep into the scripture. And the whole point, is to spend time with the Lord. And while I do my best to stay focused on that, sometimes I can get a little carried away. And I think that's something to be aware of as a Bible journaler. And I think it's something that's really common. And I think another thing that's really common is that we have separate study Bibles. So I didn't always have a separate study Bible, but as I realized that I wasn't focusing so much on the scripture, I decided to get one. And so about 6 months ago, I decided to do a dedicated study of the Bible because, to be honest, to be open, I have this ministry and I've been a Christian for years, but I still have not read through the entire Bible. I've read through most of it, but there's definitely still sections that I'm missing. And so about 6 months ago, I made this dedicated decision to really read through the entire Bible and make sure that when I read through it, by the time I finished, that I will know I have read it and read it well and really understood it. So I take my time and I take lots of notes, and occasionally on social media I will post pictures of my Bible study. And when I do that, it always gets so many questions on what my method is and what supplies I use and whatnot. So I thought that today I would go ahead and give you guys an overview of my Bible study routine. So I'll start off by showing you the supplies that I use. So this is the Jesus Bible. I've had other study Bibles before, but I felt like with this new determination, I really wanted to get a new Bible. And so I got the Jesus Bible. It is an NIV version of the Bible, and I just painted the cover of it. So in most of the margins, not all of them, but most of them, they have little commentaries that give you a kind of summary type thing of the scripture that you're passed by. And then they also have little essays, commentaries that are full pages as well. And it just really helps me to understand it a lot better. It's not quite a study Bible, but it is still really helpful. And I really like it. So the one problem, though, was that though I love these commentaries that are in the margins, I wanted to be able to do notes in the margins as well. So what I did was I made a little pocket in the back of my Bible. I just searched journal pocket and found a tutorial on how to create this little pocket. And I'll try to find the link to that and put that in the blog post that goes along with this video. And inside this little pocket, I keep my little cutouts, and I'll show you more how I use these in a second. So I have my little pocket, and then I have my journal plan, which I'll also go over in a second. And then I have my little pouch here. Here's my little pouch. And so this pouch is cool because I got this in Japan. I lived in Japan for 2 years and just got back at the beginning of the year, but they do have these on Amazon, so I'll put a link to get this if you're interested. It's cool because you can pull it down and the pens pop out. And it sits really nice and easily on the desk, which I think is pretty neat. But I'm a little crazy about the pouch, obviously. But in the pouch, I have a little pair of scissors to cut my pieces of paper to size, which I'll show you in a second again. And then I also keep a little roll of washi, which fell down at the bottom here. A little roll of washi to attach my pieces of paper. I have a size 02 micron pen. I love these micron pens because they don't bleed through. There is ghosting, but they don't bleed through. And they're archival ink, so they'll last a really long time on the page. And the only thing to worry about them is that they do dry out fast. They run out of ink kind of fast, and they are pretty pricey, but I think that they're worth it. You just have to make sure the cap's on really nice and well before you put it away. and then I have all my highlighters. So one question I get asked a lot is if the highlighters correlate to any certain topics, like if blue represents family verses about family, or red is when Jesus is talking, whatnot. I don't do any of that. I purely have this many colors just because it's pretty, but also I have them just so I can correlate where my notes go really easily and quickly. You definitely don't need so many colors, but it's kind of fun. I recommend at least 2 or 3. And I use Pentel Friction highlighters. Again, I got these in Japan as well, but you can find them on Amazon. Okay, and then to attach the little piece of paper, I almost forgot to show you guys this. I just take the little piece of paper I already have cut to the size of the margin, and then I take my little pair of scissors and we'll cut it to fit just the portion of the commentary. So you can see commentary doesn't fill up the entire page, so I only cut it to to fit, and just really easily attach it with some washi tape. Yep, easy peasy. So if I ever want to read it, you know, the commentary again, I can just easily flip it up and put it back down. Great thing about washi tape is that it's really easy to remove, and then so if this ever loses its stickiness, I can always just replace it if I keep having to flip it up and flip it back down. And that way I do both top and bottom so that I don't have to worry every time I flip my page that it'll be flying up. So yeah, it makes it so I can take notes on all of the pages. All right, so those are my supplies. So now I'll get going on the actual study method that I use. Okay, so I just want to remind you that this method may not be the right one for you, and I am not saying this is the best one. I think anything that gets you reading the Bible and spending time with Him and studying it is awesome. So this is purely just to show you what I do. Maybe you'll find things you like and what you don't like, and you can make your own method using those little things. So I personally decided, because I've tried so many different year plans and reading plans. I've tried just reading it front to back. I've tried chronological many times. I've tried using just methods like the SOAP method, starting wherever I wanted. I've tried so many different things to get me going in the Bible, and most of them started with the Old Testament. And the problem I kept running into is that I keep getting stuck somewhere in the middle of the Old Testament. I just get a little bogged down by it. It gets kind of repetitive, and I personally just have a hard time staying motivated. Sometimes I feel like it can get a little boring, so I get bogged down in the Old Testament. And I knew that this time around, this new dedicated study Bible and everything, I really wanted to start in the New Testament, because I wanted to start my time off with my whole purpose of my faith, which is Jesus, and I wanted to really dig into that first. And I also find the New Testament's a little bit easier to read, it's a little easier to get through, and I felt like it would help me get that routine, and that help me to stay motivated as I get to the Old Testament. So I am using a year reading plan, but I'm not using it as a year plan. There's no way I'm going to get through it in a year doing this method of Bible study. But I'm using the Blue Letter Bible Historical Plan. So it is a plan reading through the books as they were written. So it starts, of course, in the Old Testament, pretty much in order, and then it goes to the New Testament, and it starts with James in the New Testament. And so I just skipped the whole Old Testament spots and went straight to the New Testament, starting with James, and I'm going to work my way through the New Testament, and then I'll go back, once I finish that, to the Old Testament. So I started this plan on November 18th, 2017. It is now May 2018. So I'm a bit behind. I've only gotten about 2 weeks through the study, but that's okay, because my whole goal is that when I finish this, even if it takes me a couple years, I'll know I've read it and read it well. and that was my personal goal. So that's my plan that I'm using. I'll put a link to this in the blog post that goes along with this video. And so when it comes to the actual study method here, I'm currently at Romans, but what I do, basically, let's try to find a good spot to show you. So basically, I've kind of changed my method a couple of times to try to find what works best for me. Originally, here I was going really verse by verse, and then I kind of ended up going more paragraph by paragraph. So what I do is I will read a verse or two or three or a full paragraph, and if I feel like I can summarize that all in one sentence, then I will just box that. So here, let's say, in Romans here, I felt like this whole paragraph could all go together and I could summarize that one thing really well. And so I just boxed that instead of highlighting the whole thing just to save ink. But of course you could highlight the whole thing. And then I will write my note with my micron and then box that and connect them. If I feel like certain verses within that paragraph need more explanation, then I will just highlight that verse or those two verses, write my note, box it again, and then go on to the next part of my paragraph. So I really don't have a super huge method to it. I just do what feels right for me. One tool that I love to use is the Faith Life Study Bible app on my phone. It sometimes can be challenging not to get distracted on my phone, but I love the Faith Life Study Bible app because it really breaks down the verses into words and whatnot, and it gives you so much insight that I never even thought about, and I feel like I've learned so much using that app. And it also helps me, one of the things, sometimes it can be a little hard to figure out what exactly to write as a note. And so using that study Bible, figuring out those little extras, and it helps me to just really understand it. And then I'll kind of summarize what the study Bible says or what the commentaries here on the side say. I'll summarize those and use that as my note that connects to that verse. So again, I don't really have any super method. I don't try to do a certain order of my highlighters. It just kind of ends up being what I feel is the most, I don't know, pleasing, I guess. And I just use them. It's just purely so I can see where my notes go really easily. So, for example, I know that here in Romans 1:14 it says, "I am obligated both to Greeks and non-Greeks, both the wise and the foolish, that is why I'm so eager to preach the gospel also to you who are in Rome." And so the note I wrote with that, which I can find easily by just following the highlighter color, is Paul wanted to share the gospel to all, no matter what ethnicity. And that's the whole point of that verse, and that's what I got out of that verse. And yeah, that's the basic overview of my study. So when it comes to the essays and the commentaries, I always use the same color highlighter for this one, and I don't use this one in other note areas just so I could easily, I don't want it to get confused with the commentaries or the essay parts of the Bible. So you can see under my little flip here, I highlight the most important parts in my commentary, and that way I can easily go back and read certain things. And I love that I can always just flip to a certain part of my Bible and kind of skim my notes to see what were the biggest parts of that and what I really got out of it. And it's cool because I also sometimes will put little tidbits of my personal journey, which is pretty, I think will be a cool thing to pass down one day as well. But yes, that's my basic Bible study. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments, or you can email me at jenna@scribblinggrace.com. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope that answered everything. I don't think I'm missing anything, but let me know if you have a question. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day. All right, God bless.